W3JOE, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another episode of Cup of Joe with Web3 Joe. That's Web3 Job Ops and Events, which powers these amazing spaces. We are here every Wednesday, every Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, sitting down with leaders in the space to talk about how you can get your dream job in Web3. We're here for about 30 minutes or so. We appreciate all of you listening, whether it's here live on X, on Spotify, or on YouTube. We got a very special guest with us here today, Mr. Berachain. He's the founder of KodiakFi. Bera, how are you doing, bro? Happy Friday. Thank you for stopping by.
Yo, what's up? What's up, man? Thanks for having me today. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, man, appreciate you. We know you're a busy man, so don't want to take too much of your time, but we know our listeners appreciate getting the game, the insights from people like you. So looking forward to get into it. Before we do, some quick announcements up top. We do have the tweet for this space. If you want to show some love, any likes, retweets, and comments go a long way. Once again, if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, that's Web3 Job Ops on X. We would love it if you could stop by, join us live next time. Shout out to all of our listeners, Bearland, Zero, anyone listening to recording. We've also got our upcoming events powered by, in part by Web3 Job Ops at Korea Blockchain Week and Token 2049 pinned up top. We would love to see you stop by. We talk about it every single week, how important it is to be visible. So if you can make it, we'd love to have you. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Bera, I'd love to get the conversation started. If you could give us a quick background on who you are, what you do, and how you started doing it.
Yeah. I'm Berachain. I'm one of the co-founders and core contributors at Kodiak. Kodiak is Berachain's native liquidity platform, and so we are the leading DEX on Berachain. We currently capture about 80 to 90% of all the volumes that go through or on a daily basis that are traded on the Berachain network. And so we're a very iterative team. We're always trying to build new products, always trying to ship out new stuff. I just put out a little tweet yesterday about a lot of the stuff that we have behind the scenes. But yeah, we're Berachain's native liquidity platform, and so we are very similar to something like Uniswap on Ethereum. And our main goal is really to enable people to trade on Berachain with the lowest slippage and best trade execution.
Amazing. Go ahead.
So to give a little bit of background on myself, have been building Kodiak for the last 2 years now. I'm overall just like a general crypto enjoyer and tech enjoyer, and try to stay up to date with the latest and greatest. Try to stay on top of all the new and upcoming trends within crypto. And in a past life, I actually used to work in venture capital, and was working at one of the leading firms or leading investment firms in the space. Learned quite a lot throughout that process. Evan, I guess before that, just kind of a serial builder and trader. So
Amazing, bro. Appreciate the breakdown. I did actually pin up your tweet up top that you mentioned yesterday on what's coming up soon on Kodiak. Multi-swap functionality, TWAP and limit orders, cross-chain swaps, all-inclusive portfolio page. I'm a big fan of the Berachain community. Love to see that you guys are cooking over there. I would love to ask you how you got into Web3 initially, and then like what are some of your favorite milestones you've accomplished since getting into the industry?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I was very fortunate. I was like 15, 16 in high school at the time, and fortunately, like one of my uncle's like best friend happened to be a pretty big YouTuber, right? And so throughout that period, I was just like messing around, like trading a lot of altcoins, right, during like ICO, the ICO mania, right? And so I was a big believer in ant shares, or the Chinese Ethereum, if you will. And so that plus like Stellar Lumens were like my first crypto tokens, right? And so at that stage, I was just kind of being a participant, just like trading, watching, like holding these things and being like a community member, right? Um, I then like that was in high school actually, and I graduated, went to school for computer science, and there I was actually an engineer, was building like I guess like worked at a few different firms. I think one of my first jobs was at Unstoppable Domains, so shout out to those guys. And I got hired through my school, right? So it was a bit, it was like a untraditional like education, if you will. And so rather than kind of going to like a normal college program, it was just purely focused on computer science and engineering, right? And a lot of companies were actually like hiring directly from my school. Unstoppable Domains was one of them. I don't know if a lot of people know like the Meta Cartel guys, but was pretty involved with those guys as well on the builder side. And so it was just trying to experiment and building a lot of things. I guess like my first like real wins in crypto were I mean at the time there was like pretty big spreads on a lot of these like new central or decentralized exchanges and aggregators. And so a few friends and myself would build out these arbitrage bots and just trade across these things and over time try to make the market more efficient, if you will.
Dude, you've been on it for years. It took me definitely later than I was 15 to get in this space, but I'm grateful I did when I did, at least. For people listening, what advice would you have for folks who are interested in breaking into working in Web3? Obviously, the landscape has shifted, changed a lot since you got into it, but you're also in a very unique position to kind of give some unique insights on like how people can break into the space now in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I guess like one of the things I did really early on, and I think like it kind of like changed my life in a lot of ways, was just like visiting my first like ETH Denver, right? And I think going there, you'll just tend to meet like a lot of like-minded people. I know it might be like if I were looking for a job right now, I think it might be difficult because like obviously you need to like invest to get to the conference or whatnot. But just by going, you can meet like a lot of like-minded people. You might meet different startups or different companies that are hiring, and it's just a great way to kind of like get your foot in the door.
Yeah, well said, man. I said it at the beginning of the show. Showing up at events is, I mean, that's actually how I got my first crypto job offers as well. It's like you can connect online, and it's awesome that we have this opportunity to connect online as much as we do and connect with the global community. But there's just nothing matches meeting IRL, right?
I mean, like
Uh,
one
yeah,
of
go ahead.
the I guess like one of the fortunate or unfortunate features of crypto and a lot of people that are involved in crypto is they love to tell you about crypto, right? So like there's no better place to do that than and like kind of meet these people than going to like some of these events. And I think like in 2025, like I guess like like 2019, 2020, there was really only like ETH Denver, right? Like maybe if you were like a really early Solana guy or girl, you might have gone to like Breakpoint or something, but like ETH Denver was like the main one. And now these days there's so many different conferences for like different ecosystems or different networks that like you can probably find one within your own city. So
What are some of your favorite events to go to?
I'm pretty conferenced out these days, but I really like the whole APAC circuit, right? And I mean anytime I have an excuse to go to New York is a good excuse. So
And so, how important is it, considering events, but not just events, how important is it to be visible in the crypto space, whether that be here on X, whether that be over on LinkedIn, whether that be on Telegram, whether that be IRL events, big conferences? How important is it to make sure that you're out there and seen in order to create these opportunities for yourself?
yeah, I mean I think you see this like every day with whether it's like Nikita and X or like John Wang and joining Kaushi, right? But I don't even think necessarily just like for hiring alone, but I think like in like today's day and age, like it's very important to like think about your brand and your internet persona, right? And it really does open like a ton of opportunities and doors if you're able to do that right and be somewhat credible.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. What are some tips you have on actually getting the conversation started with a potential employer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, I think I've been pretty fortunate in the sense of, like, I guess, like, maybe I'm just, like, somewhat interesting to some people, but, like, I've been able to, like, take relationships or people that I meet in, like, the weirdest cases and kind of turn it into something. And so, like, I think, like, you can certainly go through, like, the traditional kind of application route and job processes, but, like, you never know when you're gonna meet someone that's pretty cool and might need your help on something, right? And so it's just kind of like meeting as many people as possible and being someone that is I guess like somewhat liked by these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. You're visible online. You got the conversation started. Now it's time for the interview. And again, I know we all have our own unique paths, but again, you being the founder of KodiakFi puts you in a unique position to answer these questions. What are some ways that people can make sure that they're successful when it's time to have that conversation, that interview comes with a potential employer?
Yeah, I mean, I think with like with most things, like you should obviously be pretty prepared, right? Whether it's like about the company itself, about like the competitive landscape, about like the actual problem space that that company is trying to solve, right? And just doing the proper research to make sure that you are in that position to be able to answer those questions and really any question that like a potential hiree is gonna throw at you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to negotiation, this is something I'm always interested to hear people's answers on this one because some people completely skip this step, me included. I've been guilty of this as well. Sometimes you get an opportunity, you're just so excited, you think, why would I even negotiate this? And sometimes that's the right move. But when it comes to negotiating, what are some things you consider and what are some tips you can provide listeners in terms of making sure that both sides walk away with a deal that you're happy with?
Yeah, I think that one's a bit tough, right? Like, I think it certainly depends on where you are, like in your career. If it's like your first couple gigs, right? If you're more of a seasoned veteran, right? Um, and I think like in many times it's like you really just want to come out with an outcome. Like, I mean, I think yeah, I mean, this is a tough question because it's like, okay, if you're working at a really mission-driven startup or protocol, right, that might be less of a touching point for you. However, if it's like you're a bit more of a mercenary hire, it's like of course you're gonna want to negotiate. So I think it really just depends on like a case by case basis. But like at the end of the day, it should be something that you're like somewhat happy with, right? I mean, like you're going to be spending what 52 weeks of your life each and every year working on this thing. So it's better to be in a position where you're like satisfied versus, always wanting more.
Yeah, well said. I know sounds like most of your career has actually been in the crypto industry, but I know along your path, I'm sure you probably interacted with people who are more based on the Web 2 side. And I always like to ask this question just to give people an idea of like what to expect. But like, are there any differences that you would note that people should consider when it comes to like traditional Web 2 industries compared to like Web 3, whether that be culture fit, whether that be work life balance or anything else you think folks should kind of keep in mind?
Yeah, probably forget about the work life balance, right? um I think yeah, I mean, I think like, like with crypto it's pretty interesting because you have like a ton of people from like a very diverse set of backgrounds, right? And people that may have been doing something completely unrelated that come into crypto and just absolutely crush, right? And so I think like it's just important to keep like just be open minded, right? Like there's no need to like you don't need to shut something down just because you've never done it before, because you never know, you might be really good at it.
Yeah, well said. And good point on the work life balance. I think that's why it's so important that you come into the space and you're sure that it's actually what you want to do, because the work hours are not like traditional Web 2 at all. But again, if you enjoy it, then it should be something that you look at like you get to do, right? It's not like you have to do it. We are about halfway through the show. We like to keep these nice, short, and sweet so that we get in and out with the information that we need and also make it easier for people listening to the recording to digest it in a timely manner. we're going to shift into our theme of the week, which we try to do every week, zero in on a specific piece of getting hired or working in the Web3 process. And the topic this week is building relationships and the importance of relationships. So we're going to get into that, but I see we have a few listeners. If anybody wants to jump up and join the conversation, has a question for Bera or anything to add, now would be the time to click that request button in the lower left-hand corner. If you don't or you can't, there's no pressure, but just wanted to shoot that out there. Now, on the topic of building relationships, Bera, how important are relationships in terms of creating opportunity for yourself in Web3?
I mean, I think like just generally in life, they're pretty important, right? Like I'm a pretty big believer of like you're the product of like the top 5 people you hang out with, right? And so I think like yeah, I mean you should just be a likable person and a likable but skilled person where it's like, people come to you when they have issues and you're potentially able to help them. And just being like, yeah, just being like pretty friendly and like also being able to deliver is always a good thing.
Yeah, you can't go too far without actually being able to deliver, right, and having the skill set that you need to complete the gig. But also, you got to be somebody that people like to work with. In your experience, how have the relationships you've built helped you advance your goals in Web3?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, everything everything that's, gone well for me has been a result of like building strong relationships and like having good friends, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, I think like again, like I just think like you never know where these type of relationships will take you or the type of people that you'll meet, right? Um, and so like yeah, you should probably focus on it a bit, right? Um, and that yeah, I just think yeah, I guess like I don't know. I think like, like everything is a result of having strong relationships, right? And so you should I don't know, you should try to lean in on that a bit, I guess.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. One of my favorite quotes is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, right? Which is kind of corny, but I think there's a lot of truth in it.
Yeah.
For people listening, what advice would you give to folks looking to establish or grow their network in Web3?
I mean, I think you just got to put yourself out there, right? With most things, whether that's like creating content, going to IRL events, being active on various messengers like Telegram and getting into group chats. I think you should always try to be thinking about it a little bit. And I think like yeah, in today's day and age, like probably one of the best things that you can do is try to like publicly put some of your thoughts out there and just try to like grow your own personal brand a bit.
Yeah, well said. We're getting to the end of the show, but I want to ask one more time. I kind of touched on this earlier. It might seem a little
I guess
redundant.
a good quote is I guess like a perfect quote that kind of that kind of relates to this is like, they often say like first time founders think about product, second time founders think about distribution. And I think like with today's day and age, that's kind of true with anything, right? It doesn't really matter if it doesn't really matter like what it is, like you should try to think about the distribution angle a bit.
That's a great quote, bro. I'm a big fan of quotes. I think, especially if they can be memorable, they make it that much easier to kind of understand what your North Star is and like what you should be shooting for. Uh, we got Migs up here. Migs, shout out to you, bro. Thanks for jumping up, joining the stage. I would love to pass the mic over to you for anything you'd like to add.
Migs,
Hey,
the number one Kodiak KOL.
hey, Gambler. Good morning. Long time, Rodman. How you been, man? Good to see you on stage.
Yeah, good to chat, man. Thanks for showing up and supporting us.
Yeah, no, always. As soon as I see Barry Rodman on stage, I take every opportunity that I can to try to get into the mind of a mad genius. So, with that, love what you're saying here, just about Web3, about running a company. I'm curious, as you transition from user to builder to founder, what were a couple really key insights that you always kind of kept grounded in as you grew kind of along that process?
That's a great question. Um, I think it. I mean, I think it. I don't. I wish I had like something that was like, like a really strong answer here, but I think like you ultimately take a piece from everything, right? I think like one thing that kind of stands out in crypto like over and over again is just being able to like iterate and be able to like iterate fast, right? Like I think it's like I mean I was watching like the Pump Fun interview with Noah the other day, and I think this is like very true in crypto, but like these guys were experimenting with like 10, 15 different products that ultimately failed before they landed on Pump Fun. And I think that's like especially with like all of the like AI tools that you can have and like just the way that like successful protocols have been built in the past, whether that's like something like Friendtech, whether that's something like Pump Fun or these kind of like super viral crypto applications. It's just you have to be able to be like, okay, this is maybe not working. Let's try something different, right? And then being able to prototype and get something off the ground pretty quickly so that you can start getting feedback and start trying to get it out there, right? To see if it works or not.
Solid, solid. When I think Kodiak, again, you guys do such an incredible job of keeping the community informed, not only in Discord, in on X, but also like the Bodiak schools, where constantly taking an opportunity, taking your time or other builders' time to share with the community and learn and kind of grow together. How important would you say is forming a culture not only with your employees in Web3, but also with your community is?
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of the most important things that you can do, right? I mean, like crypto is one of these spaces where it's like you can have an idea alone that is extremely valuable, right? And sometimes that's not like rooted in like the most like it's not rooted in fundamentals necessarily, right? And that kind of comes off the back of like being able to like seed an idea and really get the buy-in on that like idea, right? And I think like a great example of this is like Pudgy Penguins, for example, right? And what they've been able to do around their community and their branding, but also like Jupiter, right? Whereas like Jupiter on one hand was not necessarily like I mean, I think in many cases, like you could say that Jupiter was a bit more like a bit overvalued than like what they actually had built or what was actual like what was actually like live and substantial, right? But the power of their like community and like the cult that they've been able to build and the mindshare that they've been able to capture allowed them to capture like that market value before they actually had necessarily like built out a lot of this stuff. And now if you look, right, like they've expanded into like the meme coin side of things. They've expanded into lending and probably are going to give Camino a run for its money. They've expanded into perps and competing against drift, right? And they've been able to really like horizontally expand when like they started off as like I mean it's like it's like it was like a free product, right? It was not something that was like a revenue generating product. It was like almost a public good, right? And they kind of lived in this like this area or this like gray area where they weren't like this like huge revenue generating company, and they kind of used that to like capture mind share, build their community, and then eventually like expand and kind of take over a bunch of verticals, right?
It's ironic, Rodman, as you talk through it, the space I was in prior to this one, they were talking about Jupe and how if you held Jupe from the beginning of this year to I think it was September 10th, you would have outperformed Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. And a lot of people were shocked by that. But given again what you've said, obviously the proof is in the pudding. Certainly, so far this year with the success they've had. And my final question I have for you on a bit of a personal note, when you think about success, there's many ways to measure that, right? Is hey, I've done a great job, I make a lot of money, I got a gold star next to my name, look at all my trophies on the wall type thing. Everyone measures it differently. But when you measure success, when you say to yourself, to your family members, hey, I'm successful at what I do, how do you measure it personally?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think there's a few things, right? I mean, I think given like that I've been in the space quite some time, it's like there's definitely like the P&L, whether it's like from like the like trading side or whatever, like there's that side of leaderboard, but like as a builder and like I guess like when I think about Kodiak is it's like, have we built a company that like people have we built a company that like people really love? Do people love our products? Is this something that has like touched a lot of different people, and like have we done a good job at doing that? Evan, I of course there's like, okay, are we bringing like shareholder value back to our supporters?
Love it, man. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you in the trenches.
Yeah, you as well, Migs. Thank you always for coming up and great questions as always. Yeah, I mean, as mentioned, you know, like we're definitely trying to press a bit more on our public appearances and our educational content and whatnot, and just kind of, I know, like I think like early on, Kodiak had a really strong community and arguably like one of the strongest on Berachain. I think in the last couple of months, like just generally, a lot of these communities have like simmered off a bit, and so we're really just going to be putting in some effort to bring that back, get back to our roots, and really connect with like our users and our supporters.
Megs, you're the man, bro. Thanks a lot for jumping up. Super insightful questions, and of course, super insightful answers from Rodman. I got just a couple more questions on a personal side of like this professional conversation. Like, what are some of your favorite parts of like being able to work in this crazy space, Rodman?
I mean, I always think of it as like you kind of are getting to see like the stock market being built once again right in front of your face, right? And not even just the stock market, but just like the way people like transact. And like I think like my thesis has been that like a large part of my thesis is that like the world is just becoming more and more financialized, right? And then also like the growth of, and like you can kind of think this is like good or bad or whatever, but like just like gamble culture kind of like growing over time and becoming something that's like I think like when I was like a kid, right? Like you'd hear about these people like going to the casino and like gambling and whatnot, and like it would be like a very one-off, like very niche, small community or group of people that was doing that. And I think like over time you're gonna just see that like become more and more popular. And I don't know if that's like necessarily like the greatest societal trend, but like I just think it is true. And I think like you're gonna like with crypto, you're seeing like the rebuilding of like money itself. You're seeing the rebuilding of like investing in like the general stock market, and then just how people like transact, and then also like the rise of this kind of like more like gambling-esque culture, right? And I guess you just get to participate and be a part of that. And like I think there's also like really cool things that are like completely unrelated to like the over financialization of everything. And like that can be like things like Hive Mapper or some of these things like Step In, right? And just really like playing with the ways that like you incentivize users around an application in non-traditional methods, right?
Yeah, dude, that's so real. And I agree. It's one of my favorite things about being here too. It's impossible for me to not feel like I'm literally on the cutting edge of just so many industries, technology, finance, art, music, events, you name it. It feels like we have the cream of the crop of those individuals from each one of those industries here. And we're one DM away, you know, one event away, one post away from making that connection. When it comes to KodiakFi, what do you guys look for when it comes to potential new hires?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean it obviously depends on a case by case basis. Like fortunately, like my two co-founders are very competent, and we can like handle a lot of like the back end and operation stuff ourselves. So we typically are looking for additional developer support because we're trying to get products out more quickly, right? And that comes like technical interviewing and technical hiring comes with like its own set of challenges and problems, and it's not something where it's like I think if you're being hired for like the back end of a business versus like the development side of a business, it's very different because it's like if you're on the back end, you can certainly like adjust and learn new skills, whereas if you're like developing, it's like you need to kind of come with these set of skills, right? And I think like I mean like when it comes to like the back end side of things, I guess like at this point in time, it's definitely more like regional and in areas that like, hey, we want to enter a certain market. we want to like start growing our presence. We need some support on the ground in those areas and like connecting with the relevant people on those areas. Or you know, like we're looking for additional developer support to just get our products out faster and make our products better.
Well said. Yeah, I appreciate you touching on like the different aspects of that and how like the role you're applying for and the team, the needs of the team obviously play a big role as well. We are at the top of the hour. I've been
Shout out Zero and Vlad, some of our team in attendance. You know, Zero is a master of all trades and really helps on the community side and just all the fun ideas that we're trying to get out. And then Vlad, of course, coming in and making our products better. So
yeah, shout out Zero, shout out Vlad, shout out Migs jumping up from the community, joining the conversation. Shout out Berachain. After is back, it's for fun. Shout out everybody listening. Last piece of advice, Rodman. What final under 30-second top of mind advice can you give for folks listening who are looking to either break into working in Web3 or advance their career in Web3?
yeah, I mean, I think this goes with for everything in life. Never give up, right? Just like keep at it, and eventually you will find something. And you know, like maybe if you're getting denied a lot right now, or like you're not able to find some opportunities, it's their loss. Just like get better and focus on the self improvements and then come back. I mean, like the funniest thing is it's like, you know, like my first job, like it didn't necessarily like work out in like the best ways. And I saw like one of my bosses at like some conference the other day, and it's like, you know, like our company is arguably making more money than theirs at these in these days and age. So, and like more successful. So, you know.
So you never know. Keep an open mind, keep at it, never give up, like you said. And there you have it, folks. This has been Cup of Joe with W3JOE episode 15. Rodman, you're the man, bro. Thank you again for coming out. Would love to have you back sometime. And again, just really appreciate your time.
You as well, Gambler. And I'll see you soon, huh?
Yeah, brother. We'll be in touch. Shout out to everybody listening. Shout out to everybody on X, on Spotify, on YouTube. Y'all know the drill. Until next time, we appreciate you. We are rooting for you, and we will see you soon.